greatest sports debate show on the internet.
Jalen Carter does not dive for his knee.
He grabbed his knee, though, which
was
a
dirty play. That
Bulls,
was a football play.
You don't get to talk anymore.
Football play.
You don't get to talk anymore, sir.
Championship rings, starring Brandon Lewis.
Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions, and welcome to Championship Rings.
And Josh Ungar.
Buddy. So, who was right about the Indiana Pacers making it to the conference finals?
Well, let's see. Jalen Brunson gets hurt, and Alex Burke gets hurt, and Mitchell Robinson gets hurt, and Josh Hart gets hurt. You have the easiest road to the Eastern Conference Finals this side of the Boston Celtics. So, were you right, or was it the NBA gods saying, let Josh Ungar be the only person in the world to pick the Indiana Pacers?
Nope, I was right from the beginning.
Begin now.
Josh, before we came on the air tonight, I asked you as we hit episode 75 of Championship Rings, are you ready? Because I think we're going to have one of the greatest shows you've ever had in the history, almost 2-year history of this show.
You and I have had some heated debates on this show. Tonight, to put it simply, shit's going to hit the fan. I can't play any more straightforward than that. Really, I can't.
We have the NFL draft this week. We have the NBA playoffs commencing. We have WrestleMania 41, and we have Cooper Flag decision to talk about. So we're going to get into it right now, like we did last year at this time, where me and Josh, no trades involved, folks. We're going mano-a-mano, the first 10 picks of the NFL draft. This year, I'm taking the odds. Josh is taking the evens because I wanted to give Josh his Cleveland Browns. A little bit of some spoilers may come today because me, Josh, and our colleague over at Voltage Live, Sean Fitzgerald, did release our 2025 Team NFL mock draft. Go check it out right now on VoltageLive.com. Partner, the Tennessee Titans, are on the clock right now, and they're on the clock Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Are you ready?
It is so obvious. I think they've already informed who you're going to say that he's going to be the number one quarterback or number one pick. And all I'm going to say is you.
You know, the guy who last week was streaming Fortnite and said that his number one favorite head coach in the NFL was Brian Callahan. The best running back in the NFL was Tony Pollard. Calvin Ridley was the best wide receiver in the National Football League. That guy, folks, is Miami of Florida quarterback Cam Ward, who, listen, I'll be honest, Cam Ward in this year's draft is probably the number one pick. In last year's draft, in my opinion, he's probably like the 4th or 5th overall pick. He does not have an elite arm. He's good enough at the NFL level, but he has big playmaking ability. He's not afraid to throw it in tight windows. He's very mobile. But again, I think Cam Ward, out of all these quarterbacks, makes the less mistakes and has the most upside. That's what the Tennessee Titans see as well. So it is official. Cam Ward to the Tennessee Titans.
I believe, like I said, the Titans have already informed him that he's going to be the number one pick. I think I saw that from Adam Schefter. But once this pick is made, it puts the AFC South in a really interesting spot that I kind of want to get into a little bit before I get to the Browns here. And the reason I'm saying that is because, think about this. You've got the Texans with C.J. Stroud going into his 3rd year. He had an amazing rookie season, but then had this sophomore slump. We don't know what's going to happen with the Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't lived up to being that number one pick that we all thought he was going to be with all this hype and whatnot. Only one playoff appearance and his 3rd different head coach or something. And then, you got the Titans, who ended up with the number 1 pick. They're going to have a rookie quarterback. They don't have a great wide receiver room, although Cam Ward seems to love what they have. Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, I believe is their other running back. I don't know what to make of the AFC South. I know we'll get into division previews a little bit later, but the AFC South is going to be interesting to watch, but not for the same reason that, like, the NFC North is going to be interesting, or the NFC West, or I would even throw the AFC North in that discussion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I am sort of under the sentiment that I think it's Houston's division for the taking. Now, could Trevor Lawrence get back to what Trevor Lawrence was in Jacksonville contends? Maybe. Could Cam Ward shock the NFL and do it Commanders and was in the Tennessee Titans? Could they go out? I mean, let's be honest. They won 4 games last year. They could have won 8 if Will Levis wasn't their starting quarterback. So, could they do something? Sure. I think Cam Ward has good upside. But you're right. It's a very weird and interesting division.
Okay. So my hometown Cleveland Browns are on the clock at number 2. And all the mock drafts and all the experts are saying Travis Hunter, Travis Hunter, Travis Hunter, Travis Hunter. But fool me once, shame on me. Fool me. I think I screwed that up. I think it's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You aren't fooling me a third time, Cleveland Browns. You took Johnny Manziel with the 22nd pick in the 2014 NFL Draft. You took Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall in the 2018 Draft. So with all that being said, I am not going with Travis Hunter. I am sticking to my guns until they go up to the stage and prove me wrong. I'm still going to say they take Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. Like I said, there's been a lot of mixed reviews about where Shedeur could go because it started out he's going to be the number 1 pick. Then it turned into he could go 2 or 3 to the Browns. Then it turned into, is he going to be top 10 and go to the Saints at 9? Now there's a possibility he could fall out of the first round if Pittsburgh doesn't take him. And I get it.
I think if he's there at 21, Pittsburgh's taking him.
I would agree. And I get it. He's not quite as mobile or athletic as Cam Ward. He's more of a pocket passer. But the Browns have missed and whiffed on the quarterback position so many times. I can't even list them all. It's kind of ridiculous. But you can't change the stripes on a zebra. You can't just take the spots off a jaguar or a leopard, however the saying goes. I don't care. Like, the Browns have shown me that they have a history of taking quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders. I'm not saying that Shedeur is like Baker or Johnny Manziel, but he fits into that high-profile, I don't want to say Hollywood type quarterback, but do you kind of get what I mean?
No, I don't. I don't see the comparison at all. I think Shedeur is completely separate from Baker, and I think he's completely separate from Johnny. I think Baker and Johnny had a little bit more alike because of their off-the-field issues. Baker getting tackled by the police. Johnny is now doing the money side. Shedeur's got none of that. Shedeur's baggage is the fact that he is the son of Deion Sanders.
And I think what you just said is the connection that maybe I'm just making it in my own head and it's not really there, but like in my head, it's one of those connections that makes sense.
So I've said this all along. You know my take on Travis Hunter. I think if he was in a draft that was filled with great prospects, I don't think he'd be the number 2 pick in the draft. I don't view him as a shutdown corner or as this all-time elite wide receiver. I could be wrong on both fronts, and he's going to have to be one of those, preferably an all-great wide receiver, because that matters more, in my opinion, than a defensive back to be worth, especially the number 2 overall pick in the draft. But if the Browns are absolutely in love with Shedeur Sanders, they would take him at 2. I don't understand the logic of, oh, we can take Travis Hunter here and then we're going to trade up for Shedeur because we know that the Giants aren't going to take him at 3 and we could slide in front of Pittsburgh. You don't know that. And so having the proven commodity there at number 2, would it be great to get Travis Hunter? Sure, but you obviously need the quarterback to be a sure thing, which is why I don't think the Browns are targeting Shedeur Sanders at all. I'm going to trust all the reporting on this. I think it is a lock. Travis Hunter goes number 2.
So I'll say it like this. It's not a knock against Travis Hunter by any stretch. It's more, I'm basing this off of the Browns' history. They've shown me that they'll take I get it. Shedeur doesn't have that same type of baggage, like you said, but he fits into that high-profile quarterback because he's connected to Deion Sanders, obviously. So, again, maybe this is just me making up a storyline that doesn't really exist, but I'm going with it anyway.
So you have Shedeur going number 2 to Cleveland, which puts the New York Giants on the clock at number 3. And if this is the scenario that plays out, I think they will run to the podium and select Travis Hunter. I think that the Giants, that would be their number 1 player that they want in the draft because they need a wide receiver and they need a DB. They don't need Abdul Carter, though he'd be nice to have along with Dexter Lawrence and you got Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns as well in that defensive line. But we all know they need another wide receiver to complement Malik Neighbors, and they need a number 1 defensive back. Travis Hunter fits that profile. I think the fact that Joe Shane and Brian Dable, they brought in Russell Wilson to start. They brought in Jameis Winston to back up. I don't think there is a quarterback controversy there. I think they made that move because they know they have to win this year or they're both going to be fired. They're not going to put their trust in the hands of a quarterback that high in the draft. They may get 1 second round or they may trade back in later in the first round, but they're not going quarterback at 3 here. I think they will take Travis Hunter.
So with the New England Patriots at 4, I could go with Abdul Carter. That would certainly help their defensive line. But if you watched Patriots games last season, you saw how often Drake May ended up on the ground. That Patriots offensive line was not very good. And if you know anything about Mike Vrabel from his time in Tennessee as their head coach, you're going to need a strong offensive line. And so I'm going to help the Patriots improve that by taking Will Campbell, the offensive tackle, out of LSU. I think he comes right in and fills a big hole for that Patriots offensive line because, again, like I just said, countless times Drake May did not have time to look for his wide receivers because he instantly had linebackers, defensive linemen in his face. And if you've got a guy like Stephon Diggs, who I still feel is a top wide receiver in the NFL, you need time to actually get him the ball. How are you going to do that if you keep ending up on the ground?
Well, I agree with you. And while I think they're not going to have a choice of Abdul Carter, because I think he's going to be gone at 3 to the Giants once Travis Hunter goes number 2 to Cleveland. If Abdul Carter is there at number 4, New England is absolutely going to take him. They are in position where they can take the best player available. You're saying that they don't really need defensive line help. Josh, do you know the New England Patriots last year had the least amount of sacks in pro football last year? They did not get the quarterback on the ground. Yes, they added Milton Williams from the Philadelphia Eagles, which will help on the interior, but they need an outside defensive end pass rush, a guy who can play stand-up linebacker, a guy who can rush from the edge. very similar to one Micah Parsons for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I agree with you. Mike Vrabel wants a strong offensive line. He also wants a strong defensive line, and he likes football players, and he likes versatility. So I actually agree with you that I think Will Campbell will be the pick, but that's because I think Abdul Carter is not going to be there. If Abdul Carter is there, that's who New England will take.
So let me rephrase a little bit. They definitely need help on the defensive line. I agree with you. But I think offensive line is a little bit more of a priority for them right now. Granted,
I just think if Abdul Carter's there, you can't pass on him.
Oh, dreading rumors of on deck heating up again, courtesy of Jerry Boy himself. I'd link, but don't want to be flagged for spam. Oh, that's
Thanks,
fun.
Fitz. Appreciate it.
Fitz, if you want, we can send you a link and you can join the show. We're doing our mock draft right now. We're on number 5 with the Jaguars.
We are on number 5. So if you're not taking Abdul Carter at 4, Jacksonville's taking him at 5. If Abdul Carter wasn't there, they'd go Mason Graham, the defense tackle out of Michigan. There is no way he slips down past 5, in my opinion. Jacksonville is an absolute stud. He absolutely is just an incredible player for a team that needs a lot of help on the defense side of the ball. I know they need offensive line help, obviously, for Trevor Lawrence. They need another wide receiver, obviously, for Trevor Lawrence. But I like Abdul Carter here at number 5.
Okay. By the way, it sounds like Fitz is going to be joining in about 10 minutes or so. So we'll bring him on and we'll either review our mock draft or he'll help us finish it off. But we are on pick number 6 right now. If Shador is there, I could see a scenario where the Raiders pull the trigger, even though they traded for Geno. But I don't think that's going to be the case. And then instead, given that Pete Carroll is there, and we know how much he loved to run the ball when he was with the Seahawks, Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State.
There you go.
It totally makes sense for the Raiders. They've always wanted to be a run-first team. They had a solid running back with Josh Jacobs. We've seen what he's done since he's gone to Green Bay. And on the flip side, the Raiders' run game has just gone like this. Down. And in a division where you've got the Broncos on the rise now. The Chiefs are obviously the Chiefs. The Chargers look like they're going to be a force. You got to make sure you can run the ball, keep the potent offenses that I just mentioned on the sidelines. How are you going to do that if you don't have a number 1 running back? So that's why I go grab Ashton Genty. Establish that run game. Try and take some of the air out of the ball. Keep Mahomes on the sideline. Keep Bo Nix on the sideline. Herbert. Again, I get that the Chargers aren't necessarily like a throw-first, potent offense type of thing, but you know what I'm trying to say there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there.
I love this.
All right, we'll address that later. So let's go to the Jets now at number 7. So they have a new head coach. His name is Aaron Glenn. And where did Aaron Glenn come from, Mr. Unger?
The Detroit Lions.
Yes, he did. And refresh my memory. Do you remember in 2021 who the Detroit Lions' first pick was in the Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn regime?
That wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs.
No, it wasn't. It was Penei Sewell.
That's right, yeah.
The offensive lineman from Oregon. And so there's thoughts out there the Jets could take another corner. Maybe they move on from Sauce Gardner. Maybe this is where Will Johnson from Michigan goes. Maybe they take Mason Graham from Michigan if he's there, the defensive lineman. I think the New York Jets take, and I'm going to butcher this name, Amadi Menabu, the offensive tackle, the right tackle from Missouri. They already took the left tackle last year out of Penn State. Morgan Moses is now gone at right tackle. Aaron Glenn is going to boost the Jets' offensive line for Justin Fields or even another potential quarterback. Potentially they move up or they take one later on in the draft. This kid's got excellent athleticism for a 313-pounder.
So I thought you were going to go with the guy you had the Dolphins training up for in our mock draft on Voltage Live. Barron, I'm not sure how you say his first name.
Jihad.
Jihad Barron. Based on how you were setting it up out of Alabama, I thought that's for sure where you were going.
Well, he's out of Texas. He's not out of Alabama, but
oh yeah, you're right. Out of Texas. My bad. But anyway, I have the Carolina Panthers, and we saw Bryce Young start to put it together towards the end of the last season. And I don't know if he's going to live up to being the number 1 overall pick, but I do think he's going to become a solid quarterback. But there were times where he was getting flushed out of the pocket and he didn't have a security blanket to throw to. Well, I'm going to give him his security blanket because with the 8th pick out of Penn State, the tight end, Tyler Warren, you saw how often Penn State went to him offensively. And I think Bryce Young would benefit greatly from him. Like I said, Tyler Warren could become that security blanket for him. It's 3rd and 2. Bryce Young, go right to Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I think Tyler Warren's going to be maybe not as great of a pass catcher as Brock Bowers, but I think very similar. And I also think he's a better blocker than Bowers was coming out of Georgia.
Yeah. And like I said, you saw how many times Penn State was in trouble and Drew Howler went to Tyler Warren. So I think it's going to be a similar situation with Bryce Young.
So I don't mind that pick at all. I think that's a smart pick for Carolina. And their NFC South rivals at number 9, the New Orleans Saints, I think are in the toughest position of anybody. One of the reasons is they have a hole at literally every single point on their roster. You can make a case, including running back, because Alvin Kamara is getting up there in years. I don't see one position group of strength where I go, okay, they're settled there. And with this Derek Carr shoulder injury now, who knows? He may be out for the year. So who knows what the heck is going to happen when it comes to the Saints. They could trade back and get more picks. They could go wide receiver. They could go offensive line. They could go anywhere. They lost Marshawn Lattimore after trading him with the trade deadline to the Commanders. So, you know what? I don't know. I think they could certainly go with Ted McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona, who's a very controversial prospect because there's some video floating around out there that he said way back in high school that he didn't love football. There's dispute of when that video came out, obviously. But I'm going to do a dart throw here. Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan, he's been flying up people's draft boards. And to me, if you're going to get an impact player, I know Kellen Moore's the new head coach. I know he's an offensive mind. I don't know if he's going to be in love with any of these players outside of Warren. I think if Warren was there, the Saints would certainly take him. I just feel like they're going to probably go best player available. And like you've been saying with the Browns, the Saints' history says they're probably going to draft defense.
Yeah. So that puts me on the clock with the Bears at number 10. And I'm going to go off of what you did in our mock draft on Voltage. Because so many times last season, the Bears were burned defensively on the back end. You need, in a conference with Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, whatever Minnesota's going to throw at you, Green Bay with Jordan Love, Seattle, I think, is going to become more of a throwing offense with Sam Darnold, and the Rams, Arizona for that matter. You got to have a strong back end of the defense. And what's a better defense to go after than the Georgia Bulldogs? Malachi starts at safety from Georgia. It makes too much sense.
Yeah, there's some thoughts here. The Bears could go defensive line, which I could see. They can also go left tackle, but I don't know if the value is going to be there at 10. That's sort of the one weakness in their offensive line. But we know Ben Johnson and his pedigree, again, coming from Detroit. I think they're in a position where they could take the best player available. I will say, Josh, that if Ashton Gentry does not go to the Las Vegas Raiders at 6, he would be the pick here, I think, for the Bears at 10, as Ben Johnson would try to build a Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery-esque backfield with Gentry and DeAndre Swift.
I could definitely see that being a possibility for sure. It would be fun really fun then to see those two teams play each other, because it'd be like looking at a mirror.
Can't wait for Fitz to come on here and give his take on Shedeur Sanders, because spoiler alert, he does not like Shedeur Sanders.
No.
So he said he'll be on here in 3 to 4 minutes. I'll tell you, outside of the Shedeur pick, which again I don't think it's going to be, but I think it's more likely to happen, I don't see a world where Abdul Carter is there for and New England doesn't take him. That's just hard for me to believe.
Right. And like I said, I understand that the Patriots were not good at rushing the passer, but again, go back and watch the Patriots offensively. More often than not, Drake May was on his backside.
Oh, he absolutely was. But I think you're thinking with Vrabel, even though he's a defensive coach, Vrabel by toughness is going to make that offensive line better. And I think the value there for them, if Carter's there, because Campbell is more considered a guard as opposed to a tackle in the NFL, even though he played tackle in college. A lot of people say he's got short arms to play tackle in the NFL. So they're in a very interesting situation. I will say, I'm going to say this here as we're waiting for Fitz. I think overall in this draft, there's a lot of rumors coming out, like there always is the last couple days, that there's going to be a lot of trades to be made. I actually think we're going to see a very limited amount of trades in this first round. I don't think it's going to be a very active first round. I do think the Saints are a candidate to trade back. I think Denver at 20 is actually a candidate to trade back if somebody wants to jump in front of Pittsburgh and get a quarterback. And I think the other one to trade back, hold on, Fitz, I'm going to send you the link right here. Let's paste this in right here. Go ahead.
So actually, I want to talk about the Broncos super quick since you just brought them up.
Go ahead.
I'm very interested in what Denver's going to do, especially if they stay at number 20. In our Voltage Live mock draft, I actually have them taking the second running back off the board, and that's Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. And the reason I have the Broncos doing that is because we saw Bo Nix take that big step and get the Broncos into the playoffs, which I correctly predicted. Thank you very much. And I think in order for Bo Nix to continue making those next steps, you want to continue surrounding him with weapons. And we saw when Drew Brees had success with Sean Payton in New Orleans, it wasn't just because he had a strong group of receivers around him. It was because they were able to develop a running game, whether it was with Reggie Bush during that Super Bowl run in 2009, or when they had Alvin Kamara and they were constantly in the playoffs. So it just made sense for me to have them draft a running back and kind of have Sean Payton develop that New Orleans type of offense for
Sean Payton's history, though, is he doesn't take running backs. And his history is also he doesn't take receivers. Sean Payton's history is he's going to take defense and he's going to use his lesser picks, third, fourth, fifth round, on skill position players and build them up with his coaching. That's why I can even see a team like Houston moving up 5 spots from 25 to 20, get their left tackle, and for Denver to trade back.
And there's Fitz. All right, so Fitz, I know you've been watching our mock draft.
I was watching for a little bit, but I saw the frickin' Jerry Jones news come in. I'm like, oh boy, here we freaking go again. Because I know that Bruce has doubled and tripled down, and I respect the heck out of Bruce. I don't know how that would sit with Joe Flacco, given he came back with a very incentive-laden deal. But I know that you and I have very differing opinions on Shedeur. I want to correct the record for something, Josh. If they don't take him in the top 20 picks, so if Shedeur slides all the way to end round 1 or round 2, there's a difference there with the gut punch sense that I have because the Browns have hurt me so much. But if it's in anywhere in that top 10, top 15, it will not work out because he'll have a bloated ego.
Okay, so again, Fitz, let me just explain my reasoning. And maybe this is just me making up a connection in my mind, but knowing the Browns' history, I'm going to use the saying again, but it's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The Browns took Johnny Manziel, number 20.
Under Ray Farmer. And would you say that Andrew Berry's a much smarter, usually, GM than Ray Farmer? Yes or no question only.
No. Actually, I would say no.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, Fitz. Who were the owners when the Browns took Johnny? Let me think. Oh, that's right. Jimmy and Dee Haslam. Who were the owners when the Browns drafted Baker Mayfield number 1 overall? Let me think. Oh, yeah, the Haslam.
We should still have him, by the way.
That I agree with. But, again, I understand that Shedeur does not have the same off-field drama.
It's not even that. It's literally just, it's rare with the quarterback prospects. It's usually them in particular. It's happened with Manziel back in February of 14 of his draft year. Shedeur went off in early March of this year. And then in 2017, it was, coming down to Trubisky and Garrett. Trubisky started going off either in late March or early April. And every time, it's rare from this little sixth sense of mine to go off in terms of the draft. It's almost exclusively to games. But when it comes to quarterbacks, for the most part, that's where it usually hits with draft picks. It has been 100% correct so far among one or two other quarterbacks like Kaiser, etc. So it's like, I like just the fact that it goes off for me. It's like I've been hurt enough where it's like I'm almost like seeing the future. That's how I view it. Because here's a crazier thing. I've crazy theory time, real quick, folks.
See,
there are moments where I literally like have a dream or a daydream like months in advance.
Okay.
It's like a 30-second snippet of something that is going to happen, and then it happens. And it's happened like frequently the last like 5, 7, 8 years. I forget. But it's been going on at least since around high school. So it's like this is kind of like maybe it's like that premonition kind of sense, So it's like maybe me speaking out there, it's like, hey, I've been right on this stuff in the past. Let's avoid this, shall we?
So, Fitz, again, maybe it's just me making up a connection.
I think it's you making it up. I'm not throwing you down. I get where you're coming from. I just think the Browns are smarter than to that. And especially, with the fact that Garrett, with what he was hinting back when he signed his extension, I think that really played a big role into either, assuming that Bruce's double down, triple down does not happen, with Flacco at the very least. I mean, that's still a massive upgrade. Like, he's very respected in that locker room.
Oh,
that
stop
really
it. It's not a massive upgrade.
Not really.
Over Deshaun Watson, yes.
It's not a massive upgrade. Flacco went on a magic carpet ride 2 years ago. They got destroyed, but was it 45-14? You're winning 4 games next year, Fitz.
Hey, I didn't say that Flacco was going to start the entire season, did I?
Oh,
No.
Yeah, but what are you gonna do? You're gonna bring in Jalen Milrow and let him sit?
No.
for 13 games?
Jalen Milrow is the opposite quarterback that you want, because then you'd have to revert back to the system that didn't work last year that would fit more of the strength.
Well, not
I think
That's where
Jalen
Milrow is just, he played poorly against
Jalen Milrow is the quarterback they absolutely want. I'm telling you right now, they're going to trade up one spot with my Philadelphia Eagles at 32, and they're taking Jalen Milrow.
If they do, I'm going to be disappointed because he has gut punch written all over him.
See, I disagree.
If I'm wrong, I am wrong. But if I am right, I'm going to be laughing my butt off in about 10 years.
Sorry, I had to sit here and wait for the perfect time. I want you guys to have your time.
I know.
Wait, Brandon.
Where were we at in the mock draft? Because let's catch up.
So we're done. So we got through. The only thing that we were doing was our top 10. So we got through it. So I'll recap it for you. Obviously, Cam Ward goes 1. Josh had Shedeur going 2. So we went back and forth. Josh took the evens. I took the odds. At 3 at that point, because Shedeur goes to Cleveland, I have the Giants taking Travis Hunter. At 4, he has New England taking Will Campbell. So I think at 5, Jacksonville steals Abdul Carter.
Oh, they absolutely would. I mean, given their just draft history too. I mean, they've done it in the past with other defensive players. That would be like, oh my God. That I know that Liam Cohen's, an offensive guy, but that would be Jacksonville.
I don't see their first pick being offensive either. I think if
I doubt they would take Gianti, but again, they've surprised us in the past with Bortles. So it's
I think they take Mason Graham if Carter's not there from Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, that's the easy slam dunk pick with a blue chipper.
So
by the way, the reason I had Will Campbell to the Patriots, I know that their defense.
I agree with you on that. I agree. It's a safe pick. And honestly, like the whole thing about his arms, like Joe Thomas had that same concern. It's like, look at him. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Well, here's my argument, though. If Carter's there, they pass in the offensive lineman. They'll take Carter.
Remember what I sent you, Brandon? I just sent this to you back last year. Like it was like November, December, I want to say. Just Drake May's stats at some point after over a certain number of starts, he actually started to look good. So if you can protect him, I don't know.
But here's the thing.
That's exactly my reason.
Here's what I was also telling Fitz that nobody seemed to realize. They were least in the NFL last year in sacks.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't get
and
pressure
Vrabel
on
being the defensive guy. Oh, dude,
and
that's a conundrum.
With Vrabel being the defensive guy, he's going to say...
The big thing is going to be what the Giants do. Assuming that the Browns are to stick with Hunter. And honestly, I'm just telling you... hold on. Before you go...
They're not
I'm telling everybody, anything that you think is coming out of Berea, I would just say, don't believe it. Just don't believe it until they're up on the draft stage. Literally, they will send out smoke screens like the wazoo, and I'm just vaguely mentioning it like that.
So here's what
that's why I'm not 100% sold on them taking Travis Hunter.
So here's what I personally believe. I think the draft starts at 4. I think the first 3 picks are locked in. I think it goes Cam, Travis, Carter.
Yeah. I think that's where it goes too. And I actually want to direct a question at Josh, not to debate. Like, if the Titans were number 2, would you, and the Browns took Cam Ward, would you have the Titans selecting Shedeur Sanders? I'm curious.
I probably would, because there were so many games last season that they could have won if Will Levis was actually like a decent quarterback. Like there were go back and watch the Jets game, for example. They had so many opportunities to win that game, but they couldn't because Will Levis forgot how to play quarterback.
Yeah,
so
aren't you concerned about his sack problem being Shedeur? Because he took plenty. He took 96?
Yeah, he also didn't have an offensive line at Colorado and was running for his life.
That is true, but it's just the fact that he hangs onto the ball too much, that's another telltale sign for me. It's that's something that's very hard to get out of quarterbacks for the most part, and I don't know if he's kind of the guy who would be able to do that. There are certain guys where it's you kind of get a feeling with them, and then there's ones that you don't, and that's where it's also with Shedeur. It's he just holds onto the ball and just tries, not to make a direct comparison to Mansell, but just holding onto the ball, not getting rid of the ball, just has to play a little faster.
I hate to be that guy, guys, but we got to move on to our NBA topic. Fitch, are you staying on?
Might be for a little bit.
All right, we have a general topic here, Josh, because obviously a couple game twos have gone down. All of the game ones have gone down. What are your, I guess you guys is now, what's your biggest takeaways from the NBA postseason? Josh, I'll start with you.
Well, first of all, we've got a really spicy game 2 going down tonight in Indianapolis between the Bucks and the Pacers. Damian Lillard is back. NBA, please, no fines, no suspensions. You saw Damian Lillard at the end of game 1 chirping at Tyrese Halliburton. These two teams do not like each other. They met in the semifinals or whatever it was of the play-in tournament, and that was a great game. We had the incident of the Pacers stealing the game ball from a milestone for Giannis, and because I think it was Oscar.
Oh, that's right.
Oscar Tshiebwe scored his first career points in the NBA. There's been a lot of stuff. Not to mention the fact that who was it that eliminated the Bucks in the playoffs last year? Oh, that's right. It was this same Pacers team. So I cannot wait for this game tonight. NBA, please, no suspensions, no fines. Let them chirp at each other. I want to see how does
as long as they're not near that tech line, they should be okay.
I want to see how this series changes. Because Indiana had their way in game 1, but now we've got Giannis and Dame playing together. Oh, yes. And then the other thing I want to get to, great job by the Detroit Pistons to bounce back last night. They should have won game 1.
Oh, they were going off on social media on New York Knicks accounts. It was glorious.
But Detroit is going to be rocking for game 3. I can't wait. Detroit that was their first playoff win, I think,
since 08. Since the finals.
I think I might have gone to that series. I don't remember. Did they play the Cavs that year in 08?
No, it was Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen Celtics, the year that they won the title.
Okay, so Detroit did not play Cleveland, just to make sure.
Boston played Cleveland. That was the series game 7.
No, like in the earlier rounds. No.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I know I saw Cleveland versus Pistons playoff game back when LeBron was here in his first.
That was 09. That was the year after.
Oh, okay.
Cavs swept them, and then 16 Cavs swept them as well. That was the last 2 times Detroit was in the playoffs.
Right.
For me,
no, they were also in the playoffs in 2019.
Yeah, they said that. I don't remember that at all.
I don't either. It's just a vague memory, but I think I actually have a couple takeaways from this year's playoffs. And number one is the Warriors aren't dead yet.
No,
I'm not saying that they're going to win that series. Number one, but the Rockets are not going to get, I think, to the West Finals. I think it's going to be one of the 7, 3, and 6 seeds, and I don't know which one. That bottom half of that West bracket is really interesting. And as we just mentioned, the Knicks are not going to make it to the East Finals. It's a race between Cleveland and Boston. We already saw what Boston has done. We saw what we did to the Heat the other night, or the Cavs did rather. And the Thunder, do we even need to state what kind of mercy rule they should have employed? I mean, you know it's going to be the Thunder, Cavs, and Celtics as 3 of the 4 probably finalists among the last 4 standing. The question
not
is,
if Kawhi continues to play like this and actually stays on the court.
And that's the thing. It's like that's the whole wrench in the monkey wrench.
You could make the argument last night though that Jokic played maybe the worst playoff game he's played in 3 years, and they only lost by 3, which to me is a concerning sign for the Clippers.
But still, don't forget the Minnesota Timberwolves just made it to the West Finals last year, and they already stole Game 1. So there's potential there. Again, I don't think anyone else but OKC is getting out of the West, but I don't think Houston's going to make a very deep run.
Oh, I disagree with you, Fitz. I think the
You think
Lakers
so?
are going to bounce back in a big way. I think the Lakers are
Well, I'm
making
saying
progress.
Rockets Warriors. I'm not sure how deep of a run the Rockets are going to make.
Oh, the Rockets are not getting out of this round. Golden State has already won this series.
Yeah.
The Rockets are too young. As I talked about last week, I like their players, but I think Golden State is the two best players in that
There
series.
is still that serial flopper that I mentioned the last time I was on this show. Who was it? I forgot his
Not
Sengun.
Sengun.
It was Alperen Sengun, the infamous flopper. Oh,
All right. Let me get to my takeaways real quick because Fitz sort of touched on it, but not really. Listen, the Pistons are a great story. Their coach is still the worst coach in the history of basketball.
yes.
But nonetheless, the Knicks are not the Knicks. They still might make it out of this round. They would get swept by Boston. Boston is probably not going to lose a game until they get to face us in the Eastern Conference Finals. Listen, they can beat the Magic tomorrow. Jason Tatum is doubtful with some sort of wrist injury. They can beat the Magic without him. They could beat the Knicks without him. The Knicks are way too Jalen Brunson dependent, and Tom Thibodeau is going to run those guys 44 minutes until they fall to the ground. The Cavs are toying with Miami. Whenever they want to turn it on, they'll just turn it on, end up winning the game by 15, 20 points whenever they want to. The Eastern Conference Finals is already set. The West, on the other hand, 2 through 7, you can make an argument for any one of those teams. Legitimately, depending on matchup, the Memphis Grizzlies are not a real playoff team. That series will be over in 4. But I think the big takeaway for me is that nobody has mentioned yet is we have had 10 NBA playoff games so far, 8 game ones and 2 game twos. Do you guys realize already that we have had at least 4 that I can count right now in my head of teams that have won on the road, which is a rarity.
It is.
Detroit has already won on the road. Minnesota has already won on the road. Golden State has already won on the road. The Clippers have already won on the road. I believe that's the 4. If I'm missing one, I'm missing one. But that is rare for the NBA. We've had, your blowouts have been your blowouts. Your close games have been your close games. It's really what we've expected for the most part, in my opinion. The most shocking thing is probably how Detroit's outplayed the Knicks the first 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks, I'm not going to take the narrative out and make them the punching bag as much as I want to. But, the Pistons have, again, I think it's been talked about a little bit. It's just how they came into this hot and definitely just, having that momentum. Oh, excuse me, apple pie, Bill Nye the Science. Lakers in 5. I like the confidence, Ash.
He did this one earlier.
Bo Nix, iPhone 6, Betty Crocker cake.
Pulling out his own.
Oh, this pun game. I love it.
Yeah, he's trying to be the new Shannon Sharp.
I'm not going to touch that story right now.
Yeah, don't.
All right, guys. Let's get to this real quick, and then Fitz, I'm going to kick you off because me and Josh are going to have the biggest wrestling fight in the history that
I'll just say this: I'm still happy Randy Orton did that to Cena at the end as a twist.
Oh, you even know? Look at that! I'm surprised Fitz even saw that.
I saw the clip, and I'm like, oh.
I'm surprised you even know who Randy Orton is. How about that?
I at least have some little level of knowledge, no matter how minuscule it is.
Okay.
Anyway, so
I'm going to answer this question first because me and Josh, we've talked about this. So when Duke lost that Final Four game to Houston, not only was I very upset because my FanDuel money was on the line, you Duke, but in my opinion, Cooper Flagg was in an unprecedented situation where he is this superstar sort of potential new face of the NBA, maybe, especially in the Americas here. And he had a chance to control his own destiny, in my opinion, because of NIL. If I was Cooper Flagg, I would have flat out not declared for the NBA draft until I saw what that draft lottery ping pong ball looked like.
And unfortunately, he couldn't make that decision that late because otherwise it would have been a whole different deal.
Well, here's the deal. Because if I was him, I would have used my leverage that I have at Duke to try to get more NIL money. I would have tried to use my leverage with the NBA to try to get a better team to potentially, even if they didn't get the lottery ping pong balls, move up to get that number one pick, because Cooper Flag absolutely should not be going to Charlotte. He should not be going to Washington, and he should not be going to Utah. If
You don't
he
think
goes-
Utah?
No, Utah would have no chance to win a championship with Cooper Flag with that competition out west.
You're right. Yeah,
I actually think the only team out west that he would generally could go to that I'd be happy for would be San Antonio, but I don't see that.
There's no way that they're getting that lucky again. Although then again, we all said that, and especially Bill Simmons said about the Cavs.
The one team, and it's not going to happen because they have like a 0.1% chance. I want to see him go to Chicago. I think that the East needs it. Listen, every superstar in the NBA for the most part is out west.
I want to keep beating up on Atlanta. That's what the city I want to keep beating up on in terms of just Trae Young and co.
Listen, I think the East needs him. I think Chicago or Philly need him. That's where I want him to go. I don't want to see him out west because I want to actually see a superstar not start a game at 10:30 at night on the East Coast for the most part, because the East, we're staring at a broken down Giannis team with a Milwaukee Bucks team who can't coach their way out of a paper bag. Jason, Mr. Boring Tatum, and Donovan Mitchell, who's a good player, but he's not top echelon superstar player of this league. I'm sorry.
Dude, if you say that and the Cavs win the title, you may have people coming after you.
They're going to win the title because of Evan Mobley becoming their best player, not because of Donovan
Which I have told you about. He was going to break out by this point. And I will hold it over your head forever, regardless of Bickerstaff.
So let me just say that if they're going to win the title, it's because of Evan Mobley, not because of Donovan Mitchell. Nonetheless, this is why we need Cooper Flag in the Eastern Conference. No, it was the wrong decision for him to declare. He should have held out.
And I'm guessing I'm the tie-breaking vote because, Josh, you probably wanted him to go pro. Is that correct?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Duke, for losing, because I correctly predicted the national championship would be the Florida Gators against the Houston Cougars. And I again correctly predicted the national champion, Gators.
I have a disdain for Florida because they kicked off that whole SEC dynasty run with Ohio State, both hoops and, well, not hoops, but both in the same year, basically, hoops and football.
Yep, because Florida won the national championship in 2007 against Ohio State in college football. And
I will make you shut up at some point soon about that because that one's a sore subject. By the way, I've got my number on my shirt right now. I got my Will Howard jersey, baby. My 18 is back.
It's going to be interesting to see where he goes in the draft also. That's an interesting
I've
point.
been trying my best to not view it through a rose-colored glasses lens. Like, I think he's got elements of, like, a Mayfield Allen kind of game, but like, he's a project. He's very much a long-term project, but I can see it, but at the same time, I've also been trying to not be clouded by my Ohio State fandom. It's like, how much is it reasonable and how much of it is just like the other stuff in my head where it's like
wide open guys in college. He never had to make a tough throw in his life.
He did step up a lot during the postseason run, though. He did do really well. But in terms of, let's keep it on Cooper Flag here.
Yes.
I think he should have stayed in college. He should have maintained his leverage. And I think, honestly, that could have, I shouldn't say it should have set a whole paradigm shift in motion, but I think it really could have shifted the scales of just what might have ended up happening in the next year or two in college hoops, especially. It would have had an entire domino effect.
Oh, I'm not saying stay in college. I'm saying just not declare.
I'm thinking he should have just period. He should have just stayed in school. But the only part that's the only part where I could disagree with you on, Brandon, just on this one point, and it's a little more of a baseball point. It's like pitchers, especially, you've seen, a bunch of them, Tommy John, time bombs and whatnot. I mean, there was, who was it that just went down the other day? I forget the name right now, but it was, who was it?
Down for Atlanta again.
Yeah, well, it's not Strider. He had a hamstring, but there was someone else. It's Justin Steele with the Cubs. He was an all-star last year. I'm pretty sure.
1-0 right
but
now.
Ben Rice has been a great leadoff guy for the Yankees, as much as I hate to admit it, and he's a rookie. But Justin Steele just blew out his elbow, and I don't think he signed an extension. If he did, I mean, you saw a bunch of extensions this spring, especially there were a lot of, pitchers getting some money too. Like the pitchers, especially with them blowing their arms out. Like if Cooper Flagg were to have an injury in college, if he'd stayed at Duke, that's where he might come to regret it later. But at the same time, like I think it would have been the right decision for him to stay and try and take that risk. I know Marcus Smart isn't the same caliber of prospect, obviously. Let's not put him on that level, but he did stay, and I think his draft stock might have slipped just a bit before he got selected in Austin. But I would have stayed in school if I was Cooper Flagg. I'm not sure if there's a situation that I would have wanted to go to this year, and plus you don't know the draft order until it's far too late, I think.
Yeah.
For the most part.
That part I agree with.
Well, wait, why would it be too late? You know the draft order
Because the withdrawal date, I think is before the ping pong balls.
That's
if
stupid.
I'm not mistaken.
That makes no sense.
Well, it used to be if you went in, you were fully in. Now you can dip your toes in and get some eval.
Yeah.
If you don't remember, Brandon.
And
so that's where
we don't know the order because the draft.
As long as you don't hire an agent, you can go back to college.
Right.
I did not know that.
We don't know the order yet because the draft lottery hasn't happened yet. But in terms of the answer to this question for me, I think, he should have gone back to school. Not because of the teams that are in the lottery, though.
But the NIL would have been, he would have probably raked in at least, and this may sound like a bogus figure, at least 10, but I'm thinking closer to 20 million. Easily. Easily as the face of college hoops.
So that's not even why I'm saying he should have gone back to school. There were at least 4 games this season where he had the ball in his hands to try and win it for Duke, and he missed. And I think it would have been, again, this is just me going into like personal story making mode. I have a tendency to do that. It could have been a good redemption story for him to go back to school, get another chance to make one of those big shots during a game, whether it's in March Madness or if they're playing a big regular season game against Kansas or Kentucky, whoever, and prove that, yes, he can make that big shot in a pressure situation. I get it. Like,
now that I agree with you on, he does not have the clutch gene yet.
I think he will have it, though. And the main thing is that, and for me, like, I've had to learn a lot from failures. And I think failure will definitely help fuel Flagg at that next level. I don't think it would have been as big of a deal, like, because in Flagg's mind, what more did he? Because I'll just say this: I don't think Flagg had. We have so high expectations for Flagg right now, right? Well, we say he's probably, along with Wembanyama and probably one or two others, the closest to a LeBron hype as we have had in a long time. Like, I'm not even counting Wiggins in this at this point.
Wemby was closer.
Wemby was closer. But like, basically, there's not much more he could have proven. I mean, we had such high expectations for him that, whether it's 2, 3, 4 games, Duke only lasts 5, 6 games total all year, and that's the tough part. It's like, if you get hurt in one of those final games, let's say they go back to the Final Four and he gets hurt, he tanks his draft stock. I mean, what do you do then? I mean, that's where I think about it from that angle.
Thank you, Fitz. We appreciate you showing up on short notice, being a special guest with us. We got to kick you out because me and Josh are about to talk about.
Let me leave on my own terms. Fitz Stradamus at Fitz on Sports BSR.
All right, Josh, let's do it. WrestleMania 41. I'm just gonna let you start, bro.
So, Saturday night 1, outside of the main event, that was a glorified episode of Monday Night Raw. Holy crap! Honestly, I'm sorry. This past week's episode of AEW Dynamite was better than that. So on WrestleMania, I got El Grande Americano versus Rey Fenix. Whereas on Dynamite, I got to see Konosuke Takeshita versus Will Ospreay. Are you kidding?
Yeah, and nobody really cares because it's a bunch of flips and kicks and 50 finishers and 50 kickouts and yay, and nothing will come from it.
Yeah.
Because it's a dream match.
Yeah. Konosuke Takeshita versus Will Ospreay is they've done that match 2 or 3 times on Dynamite, or no, on AEW at least, twice on pay-per-view. It's been fantastic every time. It did not miss this time either. By the way, the Cleveland Browns have informed Travis Hunter that he's going to be the pick. I just saw that from Adam Schefter. So, and I saw you just responded to that. But anyway, the main event, though, for night one, as much as I was crapping on it, I very much enjoyed it. I did, even though CM Punk was involved. He's proving me wrong. I'll give him that. I liked my favorite part of that match was that Roman couldn't resist hitting Seth Rollins with the chair. He keeps having that flashback. I absolutely love it that Seth is able to constantly hang that over Roman's head. I thought that was perfect. That was my favorite part of that match, bar none. I know the Paul Heyman spots were big, but for me, that chair shot was just perfect long-term storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. You just got parody. That was not an Adam Schefter account. That was a parody. By the way, but I do agree with you. And what did I say going into WrestleMania? I said the clue was already written when Seth Rollins told Paul Heyman that he owed him a favor. The turn was set in that Paul Heyman was going to screw CM Punk. Paul Heyman was going to screw Roman Reigns. Now, did I think he was going to get in the ring and physically deliver a low blow to both competitors? No, but I did think a curb stomp from Rollins to Roman Reigns to end the match after a beautiful storytelling. What I thought you can make an argument, possibly a top 5 WrestleMania match of all time. I thought it was that good. I thought those guys killed each other flat out for 30 minutes. My favorite spot was when Punk hit the go to sleep on Rollins, Reigns hit the spear on Punk, and Rollins then hit the curb stomp on Reigns. Back-to-back-to-back finishers in succession. Kick out by Roman after Rollins eliminated Punk from the ring. Pure freaking cinema, as the kids would say.
Yeah.
My other, I know obviously I thought higher of night one than you did. A lot of people are complaining about Stratton and Flair. I actually liked the match. I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was perfect for their rivalry. It was a fight. And the whole storyline of the match was who could hit their moonsault first. And Charlotte kept going for her moonsault, kept going for her moonsault, kept going for her moonsault. Couldn't connect until eventually Tiffany Stratton was able to hit that knee, bang, do the moonsault. 1, 2, 3. Tiffany Stratton retained the women's championship, clean as a whistle over Charlotte Flair. And I agree with Michael Cole. That was a moment maker for Tiffany Stratton. She is younger than you and I. And she entered WrestleMania 41 defending the women's championship. And she is going to have a Charlotte Flair-esque career. She is going to be a star in this business. That was a star-making moment.
So, I texted you and our friend C-Boss says, I think I did anyway. Charlotte Flair was actually willing to put over Tiffany Stratton? What is this? I've never heard of this. Why didn't you do that with Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 36?
Because it wasn't Rhea's time yet. Clearly at WrestleMania 39, it was Rhea's time, but Rhea was so young back then.
Yeah, but I know they wanted Charlotte on NXT because NXT was in a war with AEW at that time. There were other ways, to put Charlotte on NXT without giving her the championship. I'm sorry. But anyway, in terms of night 2, I didn't get to see all the matches, but I saw enough.
The triple threat match, they absolutely killed it. I got to give Io, Rhea, Bianca their flowers. And I'm not the biggest fan of Io Sky. That was fantastic. Dom, Finn Balor, Braun Breaker, and Penta absolutely killed it as well. The spear spot. The only thing I didn't like was the finish was basically the same finish as the women's triple threat match. I even liked Joe Hendry appearing and being Randy Orton's opponent. I thought that was a really cool spot, really cool moment. I was disappointed in the AJ Styles Logan Paul match only because I had bigger expectations for it. And once we found out that Bayley was no longer going to compete, you knew it was going to be Becky Lynch. You knew they were going to put the titles on them for at least one night, which we'll get to here in a moment. And then we get to the most talked about match potentially on this card, night 2 main event, John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship, and it only took 17 times for John Cena to ruin wrestling. And John Cena ruined wrestling by coming out to the ring with no video board, no nothing, just black and white coming down to the ring. And the match, up until the interference, I would say was okay. It wasn't great. I'll give you that.
You had all these promo battles, and that was the match you gave us?
Well,
Seriously?
Remember, you know what John Cena's character is? John Cena don't give a fuck about us. John Cena wants to ruin wrestling. He don't care about having a good wrestling match. John Cena, after the match, outside of his AAs and his great hits, was running away from Cody Rhodes. Because John Cena, the whole reason why he wanted to sell his soul, everybody was texting me, why was The Rock not involved? Why did John Cena sell his soul to The Rock? John Cena made it very clear why he sold his soul to the final boss. It was never about The Rock, folks. It was only about winning the 17th World Heavyweight Championship by any means necessary. And he saw the opportunity to work with The Rock to attack Cody Rhodes, to have a non-wrestler in Travis Scott help him win the Undisputed Championship. It's the most heelish John Cena shit you could think of.
I'm sorry, but if that was your WrestleMania, all AEW double or nothing has to do is just step over the bar. Not even jump.
Guess how many people are going to see that, Josh? 500,000 people. There are millions and millions and millions of people watching WrestleMania. They had over 1.1 billion social views. It's not, you could have the greatest show since sliced bread. I don't give a fuck. They probably will have better wrestling because that's what AEW is catered to. This WrestleMania was never about the wrestling. It was not. We had a bunch of young stars on WrestleMania for the first time this year. Braun Breaker, Jacob Fatu, Tiffany Stratton, Penta, Ray Phoenix, even
Which he wasn't even supposed to be in that match, by the way.
Exactly. But you have all these people, including like the other girls like Rhea Ripley and Io Sky that's relatively still young in their careers. This WrestleMania, and it was even more clear from what we saw last night on Raw, in my opinion. This WrestleMania was not about the in-ring action, about starting stories and all these moments. This was about finishing up storylines and setting up the future for the next year.
I thought WrestleMania is supposed to be the showcase of the Immortals, put on these amazing matches and create WrestleMania moments. That's what I thought WrestleMania was all about.
I think, personally, we have been spoiled by the fact that besides this Mania, you can make an argument the last bad Mania we had was 34. That's a long time. That's 7 years. We've added duds of WrestleManias. WrestleMania is like the Super Bowl, right? Some years we get blowouts. Some years we get great. This WrestleMania was not the best WrestleMania of all time, especially when you compare it to 40, 39, 38, 37, 35. I'll discount 36 because it didn't have fans. Those 4 straight WrestleManias were considered some of the best WrestleManias in the last 15, 20 years. So if this WrestleMania felt like a dud, it probably should have been because most of the matches were predictable and they weren't going to be these all-time great matches. It was about setting up what Monday Night Raw looked like. I give you, could some things could have been better? Absolutely. Should Jay and Gunther probably should have had a better match? Yes. Should Cena and Cody probably could have had some more antics? Yes. But if they did that, it probably would have felt like a repeat of last year.
That part is true, but like given how much they built up that match, I thought it was going to be longer. Not quite as long as what we got with the triple threat at night one, but like a somewhat long match.
You know what made me think? I don't think I texted you this. I might have texted another friend of mine this. On Friday, I was very interested, first of all, that the crowd booed the hell out of Cody Rhodes, and then obviously he got the crowd back on his side. But when John Cena said, I don't need to wrestle to beat you, my first thought was, Cena's going to win this belt in 15 seconds.
I mean, that's what Becky Lynch did when she came back against Bianca.
The ultimate heel move from Cena, what about his last WrestleMania appearance, is like a low blow or an attack from behind in AA, and he's champion.
Yeah. And by the way, knowing that Backlash is in St. Louis, it was so obvious they were going to do Randy Orton.
Who cares? Give me Orton Cena again. I don't care about the obvious. That's the difference, I think, between you and me. I want everything be obvious. I want to see this damn match. I'm pumped as hell for this.
No, you didn't let me finish. Like, it's going to be a good match. Right? Cena's going to cheat to win, obviously. And I'm liking this heel gimmick. I didn't say in this case that the obvious thing was a bad thing.
Well, you're making it sound like it. You're like, well, obviously.
No. In this case, I actually like that. Did this WrestleMania push me further and last week's episode of Dynamite push me further into AEW's camp? Yes, it did. Which I'm sorry, but that is the truth. Am I going to go around?
You can have your opinion on all you want. I don't really care. I'll be honest with you. I do think this. I think what hurt this WrestleMania was that it was a longer build than it should have been. I think if this show had 2 weeks shorter of build like it usually does, it would have been a better show. I think that WWE really took their time. They sort of milked the storylines. Some guys weren't on TV for a while. It took some time for some superstars to get their WrestleMania feud. Like, nothing did feel connected. It did not feel as WrestleMania worthy as WrestleMania 40 or 39 or 38 again.
Right. For example, why did we do the Raw tag team titles on WrestleMania, but the TLC match is for the SmackDown tag team titles is happening on SmackDown? Reverse that.
I'll tell you why. Because the New Day turning heel is a storyline thing that you need to pay off at WrestleMania, where the TLC match can get 30 to 45 minutes on TV on SmackDown, be the main event, not be worn down by a WrestleMania crowd. If this was a night one Mania, sure, you could do it if it was one night and you don't have all these other storylines. But because of the fact that you have so many of these big matches that you are portraying on television, you know, you do need a cool down match in there somewhere. And the New Day being there at WrestleMania to cheat and be there on that stage is different than guys like DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Street Profits, who theoretically will have more WrestleManias in their future. We don't know if the New Day is going to have more WrestleManias in their future.
That match didn't feel like WrestleMania worthy. El Grande versus Rey Fenix didn't feel WrestleMania worthy. Even if Rey Mysterio had been there, that felt like a Monday Night Raw match, not WrestleMania. because I just don't care about that whole storyline. Sorry, I don't.
Again, I think this year they were not going for WrestleMania worthy. I think they were going for more storyline based and wrapping up storylines because last night's Raw set a new direction for WWE. This is a new company. We have new storylines. Everything is fresh pretty much. There was not one thing old on last night's show.
I do like that Roxanne Perez was finally back. I don't know why she just randomly disappeared. And she was on the freaking kickoff show match for Stand and Deliver, which is BS. She is not a 0-hour kickoff show wrestler. She belongs on the main card.
Why don't you get a job in the writer's room then and go on WWE Unreal, the new Netflix documentary that's coming out, and pitch it?
I wish I could, but there's no way I could get a job with creative. But anyway.
One day I will be, trust me, and you will hate all the storylines I write. I'll make sure El Grande Americano was booked to win the Royal Rumble just for you.
I'll probably be way involved with AEW by then. But anyway, which I'm loving everything they're doing with the Death Riders and the Elite. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I've told you this before, and I'm not taking shots at you. Truly, I believe you are the only person that likes the Death Rider storyline.
I don't give a shit. I've loved it since the
Again,
beginning.
you don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. That's why wrestling is the greatest form of entertainment on God's green earth, because wrestling, it is niche and it's not niche at the same time. And people like Fitz don't understand it, and people like us think it's the world.
But I think that's part of the reason why I didn't love this WrestleMania is because WWE leaned more into that entertainment side, whereas with AEW and their pay-per-views, they typically lean more into the sports side of things with their matches that usually go at 100 miles per hour and just nonstop action. I will give you this. I know the Jey Uso and Gunther match didn't quite go the way I thought it did, but I personally enjoyed it. That was one of the night one matches I actually liked.
I thought it did its job. I thought having Jey come down from all the way up there took the wind out of it. It took him like 10 minutes to get down to the ring. I am more stoked for this Gunther Pat McAfee feud that is happening.
I don't know if it's good. See, that's the thing. I'm not sure it's going to turn into a Pat McAfee Gunther feud necessarily.
Oh, I think it's going to be a match 100%. Whether it's at Backlash or Money in the Bank, I think we're getting a feud here. I think we're getting a match. Pat even called out Gunther today on his show. Like, I think it's happening, and I love it, and I think it makes perfect sense. They've been building to this. Pat McAfee dancing during Jey Uso's entrance. Gunther getting pissed off. Michael Cole saying announcers can't have opinions anymore. Gunther being the one who respects this great sport so much that people like Pat McAfee who dance and act like idiots and don't believe in this great sport. I'm interested to see the direction they go here with Gunther because very similar to Rhea Ripley, both of these participants have not been in a championship non-title feud in a long time, and it looks like they may be both getting out of the title.
I don't agree with you about Rhea Ripley because she
will. I don't think she's going to challenge Io right away. She did give her the championship. Maybe they do a backlash match. I don't know. But it sort of feels like to me maybe Rhea goes away from the title for a bit and then comes back.
I do like that they have, if they keep Roxy and Julia on the main roster, I like the two of them as heels together. If Survivor Series War Games wasn't so far away, I would pitch like you do, have Roxy and Julia, and you could build up the team, go against Io, Stephanie McCurr, build up the rest of the team, and you do that blood and guts or War Games match.
I love that. War Games is going to be at Petco Park in San Diego. That's going to look sick. outside at a baseball stadium in freaking November.
Yes. But I think that would have been a cool War Games match. But that's obviously not going to be it. But anyway, I do like that. And like I said, when they made it clear Becky was coming back, you're just like, yep, she's going to turn heel on Lyra. And the Women's Intercontinental Championship needs it because Lyra's great as a wrestler, but she hasn't had any feuds.
She has no character. She has no mouthpiece. She reminds me of a lot of the guys and girls in AEW who can wrestle and just have no character, to be honest with you. Speaking of somebody who just came from AEW, by the way, Josh, it is indeed Rusev Day again because Miro is dead. Rusev is back, and Rusev Day has been reborn, and thank God it's under this administration now, because I can see very clearly in this man's future one day becoming a mid-card champion in WWE, and who knows, maybe even with this TNA partnership they have now, maybe even Aiden English brings him down to the ring and they recreate the entire Rusev gimmick. I don't know, I would love it.
He's back where he belongs. Not that I liked him in AEW, but I don't know if it was that he didn't like the creative or it's the same thing with Ricky Starks or Ricky Saints, whatever. It's the water's so murky. I don't know who's telling the truth, who's not. As long as I'm going to call him Miro because that's how I know him. But as long as he's happy in WWE, good for him. I want him to succeed because I enjoyed him in AEW, but it seems like he's happier in WWE. That's great for him. Aleister Black is probably coming back on Friday for SmackDown. You know what? I'm cool with that. Did I like what he did in AEW? Yes. But if he's going to do better in SmackDown with WWE, so be it. I was a huge fan of Ricky when he was in AEW. But if he ends up doing great in WWE and NXT, awesome. I could say the same thing about Ethan Page. What I will say, though, is I think the reason Ethan Page and Ricky Starks, who is now Ricky Saints, obviously, both got the reactions they did when they came into NXT is a lot of that credit has to go to AEW. That's how wrestling fans really got to know those two.
Well, yeah, nobody's denying. That's why Cody Rhodes was so successful as he did because of AEW. It's just now they've got the WWE machine behind him. And as the final boss would say, it doesn't give a fuck what anybody thinks. It only matters what the fuck the final boss is thinking. And for the record of this John Cena Cody Rhodes storyline, as I've been telling you the last couple of days, Josh Ungar, we're only in the third inning of this shit. We got what he said last night, 27 more dates. We got 7 more months to go of John Cena trying to ruin wrestling.
That's right. And John Cena's going to cheat to win in Randy Orton's hometown. And there's going to be so much booing. It's not even funny, but we'll see. We got Jon Moxley calling out Samoa Joe over on AEW. That's going to be awesome. We got a Double or Nothing coming up. Anarchy in the Arena. It's going to be bonkers because it always is with AEW. They don't know what it means to have a bad Anarchy in the Arena. For God's sakes, Jack Perry was set on fire. And Darby Allin was hung upside down. AEW goes to crazy lengths. I expect them to do it again. and we'll see what happens.
Basically, if you want to watch crazy, unsafe shit that you're not even sure the participant's body should be doing that, go to TBS and TNT and pay-per-view every couple of months. With that being said, we got to wrap it up for tonight. This is Championship Rings. Next week, we will be back potentially. I'm not sure what day, because if the Cavs play Game 5, it would be a Tuesday. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But when we do come back, it will be the NFL draft will be over. The NBA playoffs will be in full swing. We'll be on the road to Backlash. We'll talk about anything else in sports that comes up. I ain't got nothing else to say.
We do have the Stanley Cup playoffs going on. The Florida Panthers are trying to be the first team to repeat since the Pittsburgh Penguins did it in 2016 and 2017. The Cleveland Monsters did end up making the Calder Cup playoffs. They will host the Toronto Marlies in Game 1 on Thursday. And last I checked, the Pacers were ahead against the Bucks, so I'm going to go check that out because I want to see Tyrese Halliburton against Game Time. And we out.